On this episode of the Pit Therapy Podcast, we were lucky enough to sit down with TravHC, who fronts the band Intimidator, and Gunnar, who fronts the band Strikeface from South Carolina. We talk about how the South Carolina scene is popping off right now, and all the cool stuff that these two guys are doing in the scene to help it out. We get into things like if social media is a good or bad influence on the hardcore scene, and we get to know these guys a little bit personally about some of the stuff they're doing in their own time. So super awesome episode. Really grateful for them to jump on, and definitely worth checking them out, and hope you enjoy the episode. Let's open this pit up.
Somebody hit somebody!
What's up, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Pit Therapy Podcast. You're here with me, Trevor, and Kyle, and we have a couple special guests again. We've got Gunnar and TravHC from the South Carolina, specifically Charleston scene. And, dude, we are stoked to have you guys on. So, we've mentioned it.
Appreciate it. Glad to
Yeah, no, go for it.
I was just saying, appreciate it. Glad to, be here.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I was just going to quickly throw in there, when we started this thing, Gunnar was one of our early followers. We were just chatting about that beforehand. But, your all's content is something that we've always connected with. In our last podcast where we were talking about Strikeface and Intimidator, Kyle said that I think that our humor styles are the same because we have TravHC windmilling to Creed out in Fields and all sorts of stuff like that. So,
yeah.
But no, it's a ton of fun. So we appreciate you guys being here. Sorry, I just got a pop-up from Zencaster. You're good. Okay. All good.
He's live streaming his feed at the same time, so it's how we pay the bills for this. But
okay,
we'll
do it live.
Do live. But
so you guys, Gunnar, I think you played a show last night. Did I see that on social media, or was that?
Yeah, we played a show with Belushi Speedball. Holy shit, those guys rip. So amazing. That's probably the most fun I've had at a show in the last decade.
Belushi Speedball, Where are they from?
I think they're out of Louisville, Kentucky. Nicest dudes. Super cool.
So this has been kind of a question about how easy is it for bands to go through Charleston? Is that because I suck at geography. I suck at a lot of stuff when it comes to things that smart. So where does that sit in South Carolina in regards to other places?
So Charleston's in a weird spot because it's right on the fucking coast. We're right by the edge of the ocean. And so it's not on regular touring routes.
Yeah.
But that's kind of one of the reasons that we have a decent DIY and hardcore scene because what else are you going to do? But every now and then we'll get promoters that just kind of pop out of nowhere and bring bigger packages and or pick up random off day tour packages and things like that. But yeah, it's kind of in a weird pocket of the state.
I think Trav, you said you're going to Primus tomorrow, correct? So where's that show?
Yeah, we're going. It's in Raleigh, North Carolina. Actually, our bassist bought tickets. He bought 4 tickets forever ago. It was y'all are going. I was like, okay.
Is his name Mud?
Not yet. We're working on legally changing it. So
okay. It is kind of funny though. The bass player buys tickets to a band that I guess made the bass cool.
Yeah, I'm not super into Primus. I've never really gotten into them, but Perfect Circle is playing too, so that's something I'm excited for.
So how long?
But I'm down for the experience.
Yeah, how long's that trek up there to Raleigh though?
Well, I'm a little more inland. I live closer to Columbia. So we're it's about 3 hours.
That's not bad.
It's not too bad. Mm-mm.
Okay. So you're the midpoint between Charleston and Greenville.
Yeah, more or less. Charleston's about, I know one spot we've played a lot of shows together. Ridgeville is about an hour 10 from our practice space. I think when I came and let this dude tattoo me, it was about an hour 50, and then Greenville's about close to 3 hours from me. So
okay. I gotcha.
So it's near about.
That makes sense. So, Trav, I mean, is HC like a family name or what?
I was just like, yeah, I was taking another swing at content creation, and I was like, well, my name's Travis. I like hardcore, so I picked TravHC, and just kind of stuck.
I mean, I thought like you came out and your mom was just like, yeah, HC. I was like, great grandpa, we're good. So,
nah,
deep lineage of hardcore.
Nice.
Yeah, I wish, but it's nothing like that.
I guess, I mean, that's a good segue. I mean, how did you guys get into this? Have you guys been into this music for a while? Or, I mean, so we're from Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City actually does have a history of like heavy music. It's kind of cool. A lot of people don't know that. But I just recently relocated down to Dallas, and it's like a completely different scene, you know? So, yeah. I mean, how does people in South Carolina get introduced to this kind of music?
I was really lucky. Like, I was like maybe 12, and my older brother was already going to like hardcore shows. And so I just like was hanging out with my older brother and his friends, and they kind of just like, I was like the cool young kid that they just kind of like brought along everywhere and like told me to cause trouble so that they can, you know, do whatever. And so I just kind of just got thrown to the wolves in it. Like, I think I was like 12 or 13 at like the first hardcore show I went to. And like, ever since I started coming to shows, I just couldn't stop.
Yeah.
I think for me, I got into like punk and hardcore through like a lot of people from our generation through like the Tony Hawk games.
Oh, heck yeah.
I think American Wasteland was the one that I always say Tony Hawk's American Wasteland radicalized me. But like we had, especially around like the PD and the Midlands where I'm at, there was a pretty big heavy music scene in like the early 2000s, but like I had like super protective parents, so I was never like allowed to go to stuff. So I was always like watching it from the, you know, the other side of the fence. Yeah. I got to go to a couple like one at like a VFW hall and stuff like that with some older bands around here from like Hartsville, like Embracing Goodbye and My Brother's Keeper and Sent by Ravens and stuff like that. And then there was just no heavy music in this, at least in this area of South Carolina, for a long time, it felt like. And then I started seeing it pop back up, and I was like, now's the time.
Dude, Sent by Ravens is a name I've not heard in a long time. Are they from out that way?
Yeah, they're from Hartsville. It's a little jog away from me, but not super far. I think their old vocalist has a brewery there, and me and one of our guitarists have been we've been talking about going to check it out and maybe see if that could be a spot we could have shows at, or if that was something they would be interested in.
Yeah.
So your guys' story, like the two of you, it's like us. So Kyle had the older brother and stuff, and I had the overprotective parents. Like it's like identical. So you know, just Solid versus South Carolina.
Both have mustaches.
What was that?
So we both have mustaches.
Yeah, Kyle likes to act like he's a Latino because he's married to a Latino. So
that's not why, dude. I went to like an 80s party and I wore a Canadian tuxedo, you know, denim on denim. You gotta
see your socks then, bro.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet, but I had to have a mustache. But I think that's one cool thing. I mean, we've talked to a few people now, and like we were fortunate enough to interview this guy, Rob, from the band Will to Live. And he's like, I don't know, in his mid 40s or a little later. And just to hear his story about getting into hardcore, it's like, there's something special because we all relate to that, you know, like we hear all these stories from people and it's cool to hear, but it's like, yeah, you know, we're talking to two people that had the same experience we did. And here we are, you know, I don't know. Yeah. I get sentimental like that.
Parallels.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But so
we all lived the same childhood, dude.
For real. Just opposite sides of the country. But Trav, so hardcore specifically though, right? Because Tony Hawk, it's a lot of punk, right? So that's where
Yeah.
most of us start. We start with punk, pop punk, something along those lines. What would your introduction
Yeah.
to like metal or like actual like hardcore music and continuing down that path? Because Intimidator, you guys aren't like a punk band. You guys are a hardcore band.
Yeah. It was just like, you know, trying to, because my parents weren't even like super into music, like listening to music or anything, even. So it was kind of like I was left to my own devices to kind of figure out what I was into for a long time. So it was like, I think I saw like a POD music video on on and then I was like, I gotta get that record. And I got that record. And then one time I saw like it was Korn's Take a Look in the Mirror at Kmart. I was like, that looks kind of weird. Let me sneak this in the old shopping cart. And my mom didn't know any better. And then I was like, this is the angriest shit I've ever heard in my life. I love this. And it's just kind of like, it was like kind of trying to find like heavier and heavier and heavier music. And then I eventually was like, I kind of got into like bands like Rise Above or Rise, was it Rise Against? No, Black Flag. I was thinking of the song Rise Above. And then it was like, I like this sound, but I want this, but heavier. And then I gradually got back into heavier music and found hardcore. Because for a while, like I stopped listening to heavy music altogether for a few years, and I was like, this EDM stuff is like boring. Let me go back to what I like really like. Just stuff like the Doom EP by A Job for a Cowboy. That was a big one for me that really shaped the path I took into heavy music, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Gunnar? I assume that, you know, what was like your brother's influence? Was it, because when we talk about hardcore, I don't know how it was for you guys. I mean, Salt Lake City, we didn't have like we didn't get a lot of the like New York style hardcore, right? A lot of the, you know, more punk influenced stuff. It really was kind of weird. It went straight into like big deathcore type
Right.
scene in Salt Lake. I mean, when you say you had a brother that was into that stuff and kind of got you into it, what was it? Was it like punk and then gradually into like more Black Flag, or is there a big metal influence type out in South Carolina, or how did you like, what was your path with that?
So I consider myself super lucky because like the timing that like it all just kind of like unfolded for me, I guess, was just like divine. But so like I said, my older brother was already like going to shows, and like he just happened to be one of those kids that was just like a popular kid in school. And that was also the time where like hardcore and like being like a scene kid and MySpace and all that shit was like, that was like the fucking coolest thing. Like if you were a scene kid or you were going to shows, like that was it. But like he was into like beat down hardcore and like metalcore, like Job for a Cowboy, like As They Lay Dying at the time. Like those were just like all those bands. And like I was just hanging out with him and his friends because I thought they were cool. Like I didn't really give a fuck about music at the time. Like I'm pretty sure like before I got introduced to hardcore, I was listening to Bob Marley, Guns N' Roses, Violent Femmes, Hollywood Undead. Like I was just absorbing like all the bullshit that like was just
So
popular.
like what was on the radio or what you saw on someone's like band team.
Yeah, exactly. And then one day my older brother and his friends finally like let me come hang out with them, and our neighbor that we grew up with, skated with, all this, that, and the third, he was a drummer in a local hardcore band called Action Icon. They fucking ripped. They were amazing. And this was like my introduction to hardcore. Like they let me go to the practice and they made it theatrical and weird. Like I remember he even like stood at his door and he stopped me and put X's on my hand and then let me in his room. Like I was going into a shit. Like they were prepping me.
Yeah.
I was groomed. Not in a weird way. It's okay. And they just start fucking playing, and like I just remember like my jaw dropped, and like it was one of those moments where just like I couldn't stop smiling, and I was like, I don't know what this fucking is, but I need this shit. And I just kind of like worshiped the ground that those guys walked on, and like I just like listened to everything they said. They just put me on a bunch of like Boston hardcore bands. Like two of the first bands that like I really like was just like force fed, and then also kind of fell in love with was Black My Heart and On Broken Wings and Blood for Blood. And so like I just like instantly, like I never really had like the awkward scene phase that like is the usual pipeline
Yeah.
to hardcore.
You missed
It was
out.
just like the guys that were already like the cool kids in the scene were just like, this young child, he's ours now. And I was kind of just like in.
Nice.
That's amazing. Especially because I look back on like my MySpace phase and I'm like, man, I regret so much.
No cut. Never had my lips pierced.
Yep.
I
Wish I could have skipped that and gone right into the hardcore. But no, that's way cool. That's way cool. So was that like one of the first shows you went to then?
Yeah, I mean, the first show I went to officially, I don't even remember. It was in a church though. And I want to say Stretch Armstrong played. It was like a random church in like Somerville.
It's amazing.
Like Ladson, South Carolina. Yeah, that was a really long time ago.
That's incredible to say Stretch Armstrong is like your first show.
Yeah,
So-
and they just dropped a new EP.
And it rips, dude.
Yeah, it fucking rips.
Yep.
Shout out Stretch Armstrong.
For reals.
For real. It's funny you just dropped On Broken Wings as one of the first bands. We just did an episode on Broken Wings, Josh and I, just last week. So that's coming out. What's like the album that you latched onto, or what songs from On Broken Wings are like your go-to?
So On Broken Wings, it's like Starscream.
Yep, with the claps.
The claps, man.
claps.
Come on. Like every time that song comes on, I literally just wait for it the whole time. I'm just like,
There it is. Dude, it is like the funniest thing to watch On Broken Wing sets on YouTube, because it's everyone just going wild, throwing haymakers at each other, and then everyone pauses and everyone hands in the air is clapping. It's the goofiest thing, but it is so funny, and it is so fun, and it's part of what makes hardcore so great.
What about you, Travis? What was like your first show?
First show, probably. Well, as far as like hardcore and stuff is concerned, probably Sent by Ravens, and it was My Brother's Keeper, Embracing Goodbye, and Sent by Ravens, and it was also in a church.
Dude, some of the best shows are in churches. I mean, we saw
it was fun.
Valid.
like Sleeping Giant and stuff in church.
Yeah, that got pretty wild.
Like, it's wild.
So
it got way wild. Pretty sure they did like a Bible study beforehand, and then we just beat each other up after, like it's supposed to be. So
how did you guys get started playing music? So like Gunnar, you were saying, worshiping the ground that people were walking on and like wanting to do this now. So what was like the first band or first taste of you actually doing it?
So first band, I constantly tried to like start bands, like they just never went anywhere. Like I picked up guitar when I was like 12, and then like my brother also plays guitar, and like we would jam, and then like nothing would come of it. I went to this school for 2 years that actually had like a music tech class, and in that class the students just like split up and made bands and wrote songs and recorded them on I can't remember the software we used, but it's like doesn't even exist anymore. But and so like that was like my first like, oh my god, I'm capable of writing a song. Okay, this is kind of cool. And then I think my first like band that played real shows, I think I was like 18. We were called Fourth Place Finish, and one of my friends told like everyone that was at the show, like the lyrics for this one gang vocals part. And when we played that song, like literally, and this was the first show the band has ever played, first show I've ever played. And like, we had people dogpiling, like yelling my words at my face. And like instantly, like that shit ruined me. I was like, I can't live without this now. Like, I need this. Yeah. Like, ever since then, it's like hardcore is everything.
It's doing something.
Yeah. So we asked, there's a local band from Salt Lake City named Sunshot, and we talked to their vocalist. And I asked him this question. I want to ask you, and I'm going to ask you it as well, Travis, but like, when did you find out you could scream? Like, were you singing along to a certain band, or were you like looking in the mirror, screaming into a MacBook or something? Like, how did you, you too, Travis, if you want to jump in, like, when did you know that like I can scream?
For me, it was when I was getting back into heavier music and I was listening to a lot of like deathcore, like Diaries of Murder and Oceano, and I was like, I want to be able to do that. So like I would be at work, you know, overnight with this big ass like Bluetooth speaker listening to these like Diaries of Murder albums and stuff and try to replicate it. And like I had to, for parts of my job, I had to wear like a face shield and it would like reverberate it back into my ears real good. And I was like, I'm getting pretty good at this. Like, but,
no one else could hear you. You weren't just like screaming and everyone else is looking at him like, dude, what's going on?
Nah, I was like, cause I used to be a CNC machinist. So like I had my own little area. So
Nice.
like I could kind of do whatever. Especially when I was on night shift, nobody really cared. But I've been playing guitar a lot longer than I've been doing vocals.
Yeah.
But I should probably practice it more than I do. But just kind of go up there and start hollering.
There you go. And what about you, Gunnar?
So, yeah, ever since I like I was talking about that band earlier, Action Icon. I always tried to just like I tried to be them, you know what I mean? And I would always like practice like by myself. I would just like in the shower screaming at the top of my lungs for like no reason, just like making up lyrics, like not even screaming to songs, just like in the silence for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And I learned how to do the inhaling like gutturals. Like I can't do it anymore, but I like for a minute, like I was really good at it, but like I didn't want to like even though like I was like proud of how it sounded, I was like, if I do this in front of people, I'm gonna get my fucking ass kicked. And so I like forced myself to like try to learn it. And one of my older brother's girlfriends at the time, I was just hanging out with him and I was listening to Justin Timberlake, JT, and I'm pretty sure it was the song Bringing Sexy Back. It was either Bringing Sexy Back or Cry Me a River. It was Bringing Sexy Back. And like my brother went into the house because he forgot something. That song was on and we were just being fucking goofy. And I started screaming the lyrics to the Justin Timberlake song. And she just like looked at me with like a crazy eye and I was like, what the fuck? And she was like, yo, that actually sounds good. And I was like, for real? And so from that point, I just started like practicing and just trying to like sound like bands I would hear and shit like that.
Yeah.
And then I just tried to jam with a bunch of people. Like I said, I always tried to start bands. Like I would just like meet up with like my friend Chris and like we would play. Like there's videos of me on YouTube from at like age 15, just like jamming with my friends, like no lyrics. I'm just like ad-libbing everything. And yeah, that was like a regular thing. That's kind of what shaped my voice now.
That's awesome. And it's way cool to hear. I don't know. I mean, we grew up going to like park shows, you know. I feel like when we were in high school and stuff, like music thrived in a way that was very, I don't know how to put it, like very local, right? Like there was like 3 or 4 bands in our high school that were cool and like we would go to park shows and people would show up, and you know, it wasn't this whole like I'm just gonna go listen to a bunch of crap on Spotify for ever. And I don't know, I just felt like we would dick around on instruments and try, and we started a stupid band too, and we sucked, but it was fun. But I just don't know that kids have that anymore, you know.
I feel like I agree. I feel like there's so much pressure to be cool nowadays for young kids, and it sucks. Cause like, you got like old heads that are like, you know, gatekeeping everything. And then you got young kids that are making it in, and then they're also gatekeeping, and like everyone has to act so much cooler than they are. And I feel like that fact alone stops people from like trying stuff.
Right.
You know, whether it be a band or a zine or, you know, whatever, you know. But
so
definitely agree.
Let me ask you about that, because one of the videos that you recently posted that I really latched onto was the one where you were like, young guys, get out here. Like, we got to get the scene thriving again. I want to be the one filming you guys. I don't want to be the one moshing. You know what I mean? So, like, how is the scene progressing in Charleston right now, or South Carolina as a whole kind of thing? And do you feel like it's growing at this time, or is it taking a step back? Like, where are you guys currently? Either one of you.
I personally think it's killer. There's a lot of young folks that show up to our shows or just shows in general, really. We actually met up at a hardcore show in Columbia recently, and there was a bunch of maybe high schoolers. Like there were like young kids there. It was and it was cool to see, you know, them being out there and having fun and learning how to hardcore dance and stuff, and like putting their arms around each other and headbanging and stuff that like you would expect some of the gatekeepy old heads to like make fun of or call cringe. But I was like, it's cool that they're here and they're doing it, because that's like, they're the future of this, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, we were all those kids, right? We were all the kids.
Yeah, we've all been there.
The two-person mosh style, it's a dying breed. Like, we got to get that two-person mosh coming back, and old heads can crap on it. Screw it. Like, let's do it. So
it's the circle of life, baby.
I mean, we've talked about that before. I feel like a lot of, and I think Gunnar, I think you had like a really good point about there's like so much pressure on these kids that it kind of like stunts their creativity. Cause even something as dumb as moshing, like you just don't see the creativity in it anymore. You know, it's a guy that's trying to two-step too hard and, you know, or like swing too hard and it looks goofy or whatever. But like we used to like link arms and spin in a circle and just truck people, you know, and like just that kind of creativity, not even in music, but just in the like actual crowd. And I don't know. I think the idea of everyone being under so much pressure to act a way or look a certain way is kind of hurting the scene as well.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I definitely feel like, I hate saying back in my day, but like, you know, when I was coming up and like it was fucking cool to be goofy, you know, to like go and like mosh like a whole dickhead and then just like twerk or like do the worm, or, you know, like I posted a video from the show last night where I'm just like going fucking ham, and then I start flossing like the little TikTok dance or whatever, or the Fortnite dance, and I spin kick, crowd kill, go back to flossing, and then a bunch of like younger kids like DM'd me and were like, "Yo, that's fucking sick," or "That's nuts," and like I think like maybe like if like goofy shit is normalized a little bit, like maybe they'll see that, like, you know, because like I'm definitely seeing younger kids like being creative. Like someone actually gave me a shout out, made like a mosh video on their story, like saying like stealing my move, and like he was doing like this thing I always do, and like gave me a shout out or whatever, you know, like just like dumb shit like that. Like back in the day, like the drive-by mosh videos, like,
yeah,
like maybe like, you know, maybe that era is starting to rise up again, because like I'm starting to see kids like just like be silly, like like maybe like toughness and goofiness can like coexist again.
The
Yeah.
best is they're being
Yeah.
silly though in Junko jeans. They've got like umbrella pants.
Yes, dude. It's great. I mean, I'm all about doing goo. I think I've done the floss on stage. I know I've done the worm
Hmm.
during a Strikeface set on
Mhm.
stage. I've done the stanky leg. Actually, that New Year's Hellfest that we played together, I tried to do the worm and smacked my forehead on the stage.
Yeah.
I'm about it, dude. I'm here for it.
I mean, I wear like a lot of the concerts I go to. My wife is a huge Swiftie, but she bought me this like straight edge Taylor Swift shirt.
Yeah.
And it's got like an X and it says TS on it. And then on the back, it's like her crowd surfing and it says, I brought a knife to a gunfight. And like, I'm kind of bummed that nobody has commented on it because it's a dope shirt. But like, I wear a Selena shirt, which she's like a famous Mexican singer down here, you know?
We know.
Good. All right. Well, I'm just making sure because I know that Trevor doesn't. All right.
We're
So-
cultured.
Good. Because he's not, and no one else gets it. So I'm glad you guys are on. So yeah, but yeah, I wear like a Selena shirt to concerts and stuff. And like, I mean, that's not like a lot, but it's also like me not trying to be this like tough guy at shows, you know, even though I do mosh and stage dive and all that crap, but like there should be a sense of goofiness to this because I mean, let's be honest, it is super goofy, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
No, it's
like
fun.
literally, like moshing is just like breakdancing, but for hardcore music. Like,
Yeah.
like hip hop had breakdancing, and then hardcore has hardcore dancing, moshing and shit.
Look, I grew up skank dancing. Like, there's no shame here. All right. Yeah. I will skank dance any day of the week.
All about that.
Hell yeah.
The original two-step. So how did you guys meet? Like, where did you guys first connect, and like, how did Trav Gunnar come together?
TikTok.
Yeah, Trav, you're gonna have to explain it because I honestly don't remember. Like, we just all of a sudden we were friends on the internet, and then we met at a show, and then we've been just like we talk almost every day now.
Yeah, it was I think you had sent me some videos, and then I was like, this dude's from Charleston. And then he popped up at a show, actually, that I at a DIY spot that I do some booking at now, and it's just downhill, not downhill, uphill from there.
I'm ruining his life slowly.
Trav, like, I'm almost done with hardcore because of Gunnar here. I'm about to be Trav
Absolutely
here soon.
not, dude.
Just Trav.
Just Trav.
Just Trav.
No, but no, it's you know, and then I think we played our second show ever with Strikeface, and I think they take the mantle for band we played the most shows with. That's for sure.
One love.
It's like you guys, and then Violent End, who y'all are playing with. I don't know. It's what, the 12th? This might be out after that.
Yeah, probably. But hey, it's going to be history. April 12th, a crazy show in Myrtle Beach is happening. So if you're hearing this, go look on YouTube because a fight probably happened.
You know what? We might be able to slip this out before then. Maybe we'll make sure that it's out before the 12th and hook you guys up.
I mean, it's still up for debate if we even release. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
In case of that, shout out Bathsheba, shout out Violent End, shout out Southpaw,
shout
shout out
Myrtle
Fragile
Beach.
Life Records for putting that one together.
Is Southpaw that band from Florida?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, they're sick.
they're so good.
They just dropped
Yeah.
like new music, right?
Yeah, it goes hard.
Yeah, Dead Weight, that's a song. Yeah. I
They
saw
dropped
that.
an even newer one too.
It has a solo over a breakdown in that one, and I was like, yes, this is what I like.
Yeah.
Super cool dudes.
So Myrtle Beach. So is that like a scene up there, or is it just a spot to play, or how's Myrtle Beach? Because that's where the band 100th is from. who we have had
Yeah,
tons of conversation about
Endless debate about.
about how they're not like
how they
a
should
hardcore
have
band
changed their
anymore.
name.
Careful how we tread here, because I love
Uh-oh.
100th, even
I
their
mean-
new stuff.
All I'll say is that I get it. I get their transition, you know, musically, even if I don't agree with it.
Well, the real debate here, though. Okay, we'll ask you guys because it's
gotta pay the
regional.
bills, you know.
yeah. Do you think they should change their name, or are you okay with them keeping the same name?
I'll answer that with a question.
Okay.
Are you okay with Turnstile keeping their name?
Yeah.
Okay,
Then yeah.
here's my thing. 100th has come out and said that they will not play their old heavy stuff. They just refuse to.
But they do in South Carolina.
Do they still? I mean, are they
They
still
do.
playing?
Every time I've seen them in South Carolina, they only play old shit. But it's because like all the homies come out, and so
That's amazing.
you know, so we're kind of lucky on that end.
Well, if that's the case, I will only see 100th then in South Carolina, and I will
He's booking flights,
I'll
boys.
revoke my objections to this because they did interviews where they said we refuse to play our old stuff. We've gone beyond that. We're no longer interested in it. We're here to play this new style of music, and that's what they're playing. And so my understanding was they've just like shunned the previous stuff. So like if you're shunning it, change your name. It's not what you're into. It's not what you like.
That's fair. That's fair, I guess. Yeah, and yeah.
It is fair. I just don't like to admit that to him. So, what is it that Michael Scott says where he's like, yeah, Pam's a wonderful person, but I'd never say it to her face. That's kind of how I feel about Trevor. So, he's a wonderful person, but I'd never say it to him.
But no, Myrtle Beach actually gets some pretty big tour packages because they do have a House of Blues there. But like they are getting a pretty good like DIY scene out there because the dude Gunnar was talking about that did the his mosh move. He plays bass in a band down there called Grimjaw. And
Shout out Nicholas.
Dude, I have it going.
Yeah,
That's why when I
they're-
look off to the left or right, like that's what I'm doing. So
they're like heavy, kind of like snuffed on sight type. That whatever
Slammy.
peeling flat. Yeah, it's crazy. They got some good alt bands too, but like the only two I can think of off the top of my head are Grimjaw and Hymns, but they throw shows that go hard in Myrtle.
Yeah, Myrtle Beach has always had like a good scene of not just bands but like showgoers. You know, like they've always had like a strong scene that like loyal to like their, you know, fucking shows, always showing out, dancing, going hard and shit like that. Like I've always had respect for Myrtle Beach, you know. So like it's always a fun time to play up there because like those kids go fucking nuts.
Yeah.
We saw one of our shows we played out there together. Dude got his shit absolutely rocked. He was like,
And then Jacob had a baby.
yeah, no, shout out Stage Dive Jesus. He was doing like, you know, and the back of his hand caught this dude like perfect on his nose, and he was just like pouring, dude. Like they had to stop the show and like mop the floor and shit. It was bad. And then it was right before Manhack played, and our guitarist Jacob got a call, and I think their due date was like 2 or 3 weeks out, but his wife went into labor that night, and we had to like pack up all our shit, like merch and all that shit, and just gun
beeline it.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Did he make it?
Yeah.
Nice.
It was crazy because it was like he gets off the phone. Everybody's outside because it like the Arcadia Studios didn't have their air conditioning was messed up, and it was like like August, and it was cooler outside in Myrtle Beach than it was in this building. And he's like, he gets off the phone, he starts hollering, just, we gotta go, I'm having a baby, and everybody just starts cheering and clapping. It was like,
He's like, no, screw you
it was
guys, get in
honestly-
the car.
Yeah, it was the most applause we've ever gotten. I'll just say that. Dude, it was cool,
I
man.
love it.
That's awesome. So let's talk about you guys a little bit personally, right? So Trav, one of the things that I've seen is that you have like a lamb goat partnership or something. Like, what is that, and like, how did that come about?
It's they hit me up. Honestly, I thought it was like a fake account at first, and I was like trying to dig into it for a while. I think that happened at another show that we played together, and I was like, I walked away from the merch table to grab a cup of water and check my phone. I was like, the fuck? But they were starting like a subscription service on their website, and they just wanted some ways to promote it, and I was like, yeah, I can promote things. So just kind of brainstormed ideas, and I have like a referral code. It's TravHC, and I get a little bit of that.
You have to like sacrifice a lamb as part of the.
Every time.
Yeah, every time somebody subscribes, I just gotta. Yeah, it gets a little messy, but it's fine. It's cool. The door has been open that I can, write articles for them too if I would like to. But I've never written an article before, so I think I might do one here soon, but he's got to find
do
the
it
time
on
to do
fucking South Carolina Hardcore, dude.
Or
Yeah.
the first one is
Come
That's
on,
one I
dude.
want to do.
or why you don't join small podcasts, because they're no. Go
So,
for it.
like, genuine question here, though, like, because you've talked a lot about social media and content creation and stuff. I mean, do you think that's an overall net positive for hardcore?
Oh yeah, I know. I know we talk about old heads shitting on stuff a lot, but it is something old heads shit on. But like the opportunities it brings are like, if you know what you're doing and you're consistent with it, like it can, especially if you have a band, it can like, it helps so much. Like,
Yeah.
to get the music out there, to get the music heard, and get people interested in coming to shows. Like, it's almost, in my opinion, silly to not do it.
Right.
If you really want to play music and play shows and get your music heard, it's dumb not to try it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've got our opinions on it. I mean, we're reaching old head status here pretty quick, and I don't know. And I'm sure every generation feels this way, right? But that you just worry about it changing, or you look at stuff like Turnstile playing Coachella and Scowl being on Taco Bell commercials, and the new frickin' what is it, like a Nike
with speed
sponsorship
Oh,
or speed, and you're just like, does that ruin it? Does that affect it? Does social media bring in people to hardcore for the wrong reasons?
I think it definitely can bring people in for the wrong reasons, but you got to think of it like rising tides lift all ships, And I understand that there's people that this is their thing and this is their community and they want
Right.
to keep it like a certain way, but like you got to think about it from the way of like helping out the bands. It's going to help out the bands and it's going to help hardcore be heard,
Like,
Right.
I totally agree with you. I'm a little bit of a gatekeeper right now, just because like I missed Kubla Khan last night because it's sold out. And who freaking sells out Kubla Khan, right? Like, that made me so mad.
Yeah.
But good for them. Like, their entire tour, which is an insane tour, is almost sold out. So Kubla Khan, Tsunami, Judiciary, and Momentum. Like, how in the world could you have imagined that tour package selling out 3 years ago? Not in a million years.
No.
Like, it's insane. So,
Yeah.
what's his name? He's the guy who does the bathroom moshing, and he made the stupid Kubla Khan dance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nate.
I've been meaning to do one of those actually.
Yeah. Like, listen.
If you're watching this or listening to it, I probably already uploaded
There
it.
you go.
So
Like, I'm a little bit gatekeeping because, like, listen, I'm with you. I would do something stupid like that for the social medias, but it's also cringe because I'm sure when that song came on last night at Kubla Khan, there was a bunch of people stomping in the middle of the pit, and I kind of hope someone got their shit rocked. Like, I'll be honest. But
Yeah.
no.
I mean,
Oh.
it is like an interesting, and I want to get your take on it, Gunnar, as well, because you were also a guest. But it's like I've always said that hardcore is for everyone, but like it's inclusive for everyone, but it's not for everyone. And I think you're gonna see Kubla Khan, you're gonna see his video on TikTok, you're gonna go to like the show down here because I think they're bringing like Harm's Way and a couple other bands. It's like you're gonna get hit with a table, and then you're gonna be like, yeah, nah, I don't know that this is for me, So I don't know. Like it's cool that it's bringing in new people because I think that's healthy for it, but it's just you worry about them coming and being like, no, crowd killing's bad. And it's like, well, crowd killing's been a part of this for 40 years, that's not changing. So either you're here with it or you're, it's not for you. So what do you think about that, Gunnar?
Right. So I think it's a double-edged sword. And I'm gonna get a little philosophical, but I really believe that just every life in general is just a repeating cycle, and it just kind of like mixes up a little bit. It's the same routine dressed up a little bit different every time it cycles back. And I think TikTok is just like what MySpace was. Like it creates a great opportunity for real bands, real people doing real things, but it also creates that same platform for fucking, clout chasers and fucking snakes and all sorts of things. So yeah, it's going to bring people, it's going to bring the type of people that I say visitors, they'll come because it might be trending, but like, they're not going to be here next year or, you know what I mean? But like, the thing is though, like we might get like 50 of those, but then we also might get like 25 kids that like, they become fucking lifers. You know what I mean? So like, you kind of have to let the fruit and the weeds grow up together, and like what stays. And like, the ones that fade away, they were never fucking supposed to be there anyway. So don't miss them.
Yeah.
That was
Dang.
fucking
That's
beautiful,
like such
dude.
a freaking
Hell
base
yeah.
take. Yeah, dude. That's what we could end it right here, man. That was great.
All right, see you next time. No.
Yeah, I mean, like for the MySpace kids, like, what are you really seeing if you're not still putting mascara on the weekends? Like, come on, man. So, like,
It's true. Yeah, like I still listen to Alisana and contemplate life. So
Like my wife is she's a pole dancer and she does burlesque as well. And like a lot of like just the pole dancing community, like their like Instagram and like stage names like are essentially the same exact thing as like the MySpace names. Like Mandy
Awesome,
Monster, like random shit like that.
yeah,
Like it never dies. See, it just repeats itself. It cycles.
it keeps going.
well, it's kind of funny. I mean, we did an episode a little bit back specifically around MySpace and stuff, but like scene kids kind of went hard. They were like unashamed and would still mosh pretty hard, at least in Utah, right? So like
there
always
was
laughed at them, but
it was weird.
it was weird.
Charleston coming up because like there was scene kids that were also like hardcore kids, like true.
Yeah.
And then like they would have the fucking trendy sweaters with the puffy hoods and the fucking like swooshy hair, the lip rings, but they were fucking like starting the most fights. And then there were the scene kids that were just like the skinny tight jeans. I know they got cool again, and then now they're not cool again. Don't worry, they'll be cool again soon.
They'll be cool again. Yeah.
And like, so there's like the weird duality of scene kids. There's like the scene kids that are kind of like the crossover, and then the scene kids that are just like a step above like mall goths. And yeah, those kids we kind of made fun of, but at the same time, like they were like cooler than us. Like on in the bigger picture, like hardcore kids, like we're not cool. Like we think we're cool, and that's fine. But like the scene kids were like trending. They were popular in high school and things like that. We all went to the same shows, and like we'd make fun of them, and they hated us, but they were cool.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No, you're like you're 2 for 2 right now, man. Because honestly, I don't know that I could have said that any better too. Because that's exactly my feelings about it too. That's exactly how it was in Utah. Exactly.
Yeah.
You know,
Everything's the same.
everything is the same. Yep.
So
I don't know, dude. I've never been cool, so it's fine.
you listen, windmilling
I'm just
windmilling to
dog.
Creed in a field is definitely the coolest thing you can do. So
Dude,
you know,
It's
Dude, I've
it's
seen
so
Creed.
funny that doing the Creed ones and like the dad rock ones are the ones that are like popping off, because the original idea was like moshing to like old country music, and then all the other ones with like Creed and stuff just eclipsed it so heavily.
Yeah. Creed has a weird revival right now, but I'm
Oh,
here
yeah.
for it. So
Dude, Creed had riffs, dude.
they
I
did.
mean,
Fuck Scott
Mark
Stapp.
Tremonti
I
is
hate
not a
his
bad
voice,
guitar player.
but bro, they had riffs.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw them. They closed for the 2002 Salt Lake Olympics,
Nice.
and so I got to see them play for that.
Shit, that's
Yeah.
sick.
It's tight.
Oh,
They
man.
headlined the Olympics.
They headlined the Olympics.
Fuck yeah.
So
Yeah.
then, Gunnar, I wanted to ask you about kind of your personal stuff. You are a tattoo artist in addition
Correct.
to playing with Strikeface. So I flipped through a bunch of your work. There's Trav showing off that beautiful. Is that the Scream mask with a knife through it? That's sick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I saw him post
go for it.
the Flash on his story, and that's like my favorite movie franchise. And I was like, dude, I need that.
Nice. So I don't have tattoos. Kyle doesn't have tattoos, but I always have liked like Ink Master and stuff like that. And traditional is actually something that's always stood out is like the style. If I was to get something that I'd probably lean towards. So what pushed you like in tattooing towards the more traditional style, and what's like your inspiration behind it, and how'd you get into that?
So I was never really serious about art, and then around like age 14, I really got into graffiti, and I got pretty good pretty fast, and I ended up hanging out with like a lot of like writers that were like really good, like well known, like regionally and stuff like that, and I would just like paint with them, and like just kind of growing, and like a lot of them were tattooers or heavily tattooed, and like I would go with them when they would get tattooed and just kind of hang out, and like I kind of started falling in love with just the culture of tattoo shops and things like that. And then like around like 18, I was like I don't want to have like a career in anything other than like art. So like what can I do? And like I just kind of thought about it, and I was like, well, I'm spending like half my time at tattoo shops already. So let me try to get my foot in the door. And so that's how that happened. And as far as like traditional style, my style in graffiti, like I liked really fat lines. And so like bold traditional lines for, tattooing just made sense. And even though like new school is more like kind of graffiti ish, I never really, was drawn to new school, but like traditional tattoos has always just looked the best to me for some reason.
I gotcha. So you guys can crap on this all you guys want, okay? But the reason why I like traditional style so much is because of what you said, the thick outlines, and they're always like very easily distinguishable. You can always tell what it is. And I like things very clean. Like my favorite color is white because white to me signifies being clean. And I take so much crap for that from my family and stuff. They're like, white's not a color. I'm like, yeah, but it's clean. So we're good.
Tattooing in a shop called Upper Hand Tattoo Studio in West Ashley, South Carolina. It's kind of a suburb of Charleston, but it is a fucking rad shop with a bunch of cool artists. So if you're in Charleston, you're hearing this podcast, come get tattooed at Upper Hand.
Nice. So I've been out to Charleston one time, I was able to go out there for a work trip, and we stayed like right in that peninsula area where it's like
Hmm.
all the classic stuff or the touristy stuff. And it's absolutely
Yeah.
beautiful. My wife wants to get back there, and Pugin Porch, that was like our go-to. We ate there like 3 times for breakfast. It was awesome.
Good.
But how is the South Carolina scene as a whole? Like, are you guys like one community, or does it feel like there's pockets? Is there Charleston? Is then there Greenville and then Myrtle Beach? Or like, what is like, how collaborative are
There's
you?
yes and no. Yes and like everyone kind of has their own pocket and everyone kind of mingles, but like not everyone in each pocket mingles, if that makes sense. And there's not like any necessarily like any beefs. Like there used to be back in the day. Thank God, like there's none of that right now. But like Columbia scene is popping off. There's a bunch of Columbia bands that are just absolutely killing it. There's a bunch of bands in Charleston, and like I think we're all good. Like Sumter, fucking Greenville. Greenville's been
One
popping off.
band.
Greenville deserves a back massage for carrying South Carolina hardcore because like just go look at any video of any Greenville show. Like those kids fucking love
Crazy,
hardcore.
dude.
Like anyone
Brass
that loves
tongue.
hardcore the way I love hardcore instantly has respect from me. You know what I mean? And like
Dude.
Greenville, like those kids fucking love hardcore.
Brass Tongue is so
That
good.
like New
Yeah, they
York
are.
style, punk style hardcore. So sick.
Carolina.
The show
Carolina
the show
style,
we
baby.
first met at in person was Brass Tongue, Reviler, and Rat Poison.
That's insane.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that. We're probably the only band from Sumter that I know of, at least. I know of like one other heavy project, but Sumter's weird because it's like it's kind of like anti counterculture in a way. Like it's kind of like stuck in a certain time. But then we also have an Air Force base, so you have all these people from different parts of the country that are interested in cool stuff, but like when you try to do stuff like that, it kind of gets shut down or pushed away, you know? But we're trying, man. I'm trying. It's in a good spot. It's just the culture here isn't super conducive to hardcore.
Yeah. Well, one step at a time, you know. I mean, when we decided to talk about Intimidator and Strikeface, we did like some research on South Carolina bands, and I mean, there's just great stuff coming out of there. So, you know, that's the first step, right? Is you got to get bands that actually can sound good, you know, and draw attention on it, and then it brings people out. So,
Yeah. No, Salt Lake is definitely going through a revival right now. We have a really good scene popping off. And we were talking to a couple of the guys from out here, and they were saying the same thing. It was like coming out of COVID, all of a sudden, like, love the pooch.
Come on, get us.
They were just saying, for some reason, whatever happened during COVID, everyone came out just so much better. Do you feel like that was kind of a turning point for you guys as well? Like, has it really popped off the last 3-4 years kind of thing?
Oh yeah, I think for a lot of people, for me personally, I feel like COVID kind of was like a restart button. You know, like it was kind of like an era where like I was personally taking shows for granted because like they were popping off all over the place. There was a bunch of bands, you know, and like so like for a while like I was like pretty much only going to the shows that I was playing, which is kind of a dick thing. But like once all the shows like went away, it was like fuck, like this could all just disappear, and like it made me kind of like evaluate like why am I doing this? Like do it like am I just, you know, checking the boxes and stuff like that, or like do I actually love hardcore the way I love hardcore? Like
yeah,
what am I doing? And like ever since, like it just feels like constantly new kids are like at every show. Like I'm always seeing like new faces, whether they show up to the next show, like regardless, like seeing new faces at every single show, that's pretty cool. and it's usually like younger kids. So it's like I feel like as like someone who's 33, I can't really like go talk to like high schoolers and invite them to shows. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
it's nice to know that there are high school kids that are into hardcore that are like promoting
Bringing
and doing
people.
the shit and
Yeah.
starting bands and all that. So like it's cool that like out of that shithole it birthed new stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny you bring that up because Life's Question just played a house show down here in Dallas. So like I was asking, like, am I too old to go to a house show with a bunch of little kids, you know? But at the same time, I'm like, that's so sick though that we're still doing house shows. You know, that means the scene's thriving and kids are like, no, I don't care if you don't have a venue to play, come play in my garage or whatever. And yeah,
Hell yeah.
I love that.
It's-
So
yeah, I book in a shed, dude, and it's sick.
yeah,
That's way cool.
It's hot, but
It's
sick.
so cool. That's the coolest fucking shed ever though.
Dude, it is cool. It's called Coverage 803. That's the Instagram handle. I run the page, of course. I got handed it. But yeah, it's like this shed in our homie's backyard, and it's bisected by like some barn doors. So like you have this outside part where everybody sets up merch, and then when the bands go on, you close the barn doors to cut down the sound bleed
Yeah.
outside so people don't call the cops. And it's like we've treated it as much as we can. But we're trying to plan a benefit to get an air conditioning
I was
in
gonna
there
say,
so
if
we
you
can do
guys just
shows
come
year
out just
round. But
drinking.
yeah, I took my shirt off mid-set, dude.
That's awesome.
I was like, I forgot to bring a spare shirt. So I was like, if I want a dry shirt later, I'm going to have to take this off now.
yeah,
But
that's tight.
yeah.
So my last question is NASCAR. Because I see you
It's-
post a bunch of NASCAR.
Dude,
that's the
I
question
was-
right there. NASCAR.
I was just, it was always on growing up, dude, every weekend. And I, as a small child, I was like, I thought Dale Earnhardt was the coolest person ever. Like my childhood heroes were like Dale Earnhardt, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Heck yeah.
And I I stopped watching it for a long time, but lately I've just been like, I've always liked cars. I've always liked, driving go-karts and driving like a jackass, and just,
That's cool.
so it's cool, and it's in a cool space right now. I know a lot of people complain about how NASCAR is now, but like it's the competition is just, it's at another level right now, and it's really cool to see.
That's cool.
Nice.
Yeah, it's way cool.
Well,
Yeah. I mean, I was just giving you crap, but that's way cool.
No, I'm into other motorsports. Like I like world endurance and like stuff like that. Formula One is, I'm gonna say it here so it's on the record. Formula One is boring as fuck. It's so boring. Like I think the dude that won the championship last year won all but two or three races, like the whole season, by like a 20-second lead or whatever, which is huge in racing. And it's just like, this is boring. Like,
Yeah.
So
well, I
I get motion sick, so I don't really watch car stuff. Even that gets me sick. So
yeah.
Well, we'd be remiss not to
But, like-
ask you about your guys' bands. So what's up with Strikeface? I know you guys picked up another vocalist, and like what's the game plan for the rest of 2024?
So right now we're writing to hopefully have a new EP before the end of the year. We're kind of just letting the creative juices flow right now. Like when we recorded the No Rules EP last year, we, like, most of the songs we already had written, and then we added another guitar player and a new bass player. And so like part of that was kind of them learning the Strikeface sound while we were trying to kind of like figure out what direction we're going in. And then we finally had the epiphany that we're going to bring in another vocalist. And we're kind of seeing that it's shifting it in a really cool way. And so like already like our live shows sound a bit different than our recordings just because of how much like the dynamic has shifted. So game plan for 2024 is dropping a new EP, and hopefully everyone that fucked with our No Rules EP will fuck with this one as well, because I think it's going to be even better. And we're going to try to tour a lot around the Southeast. That's our main goal, is just like hitting everywhere in the Southeast region and just like trying to build up community in that little pocket of the country.
Yeah.
Nice. I've seen a couple videos.
Hell yeah.
For me, and tell me if I'm wrong because I've just seen clips, but it sounds heavier with the two vocals now. Sounds like you guys got a little bit more heavy depth to it.
A little bit. Like, well, I'll say, and not necessarily heavier, but I definitely think it's getting harder, if that makes sense.
I mean, it makes sense to someone in the hardcore scene, right? So I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like,
I know exactly what you're saying.
because like even like the two like our newer songs, they're even like they're a bit like faster and like still like the music I feel like is getting more in like the hardcore kind of beat down direction, and then like the vocals are kind of just like crossing over into whatever the fuck we kind of want to do. Because like it's not on the recordings, but like usually like at live shows, like I'll do like all sorts of like stupid like high like fry screams or like gutturals or like just goofing around for the fun of it. And then our second vocalist Yvonne, he's amazing. Like he can do like all the styles, and so like at practice we just fucking goof off, and if stuff sounds cool, we just keep it.
Sick. And then Intimidator. Trav, what's going on with Intimidator?
We got hopefully a couple more shows. One's a secret, and we're probably going to record that set and release it as an EP because we wanted to do a live EP. We got drums for 2 more of our songs, and we just need to finish them up. And then the rest of spring through probably October, we're just going to chill on shows. We're not really going to play a whole lot unless we get offered something really cool. And we're just going to just write and write and write and write. Like we got one that's like 85, maybe 75% ready to start playing. We just started playing a new one in the last 2 shows, but we just want to flesh out our sound and get some new stuff written. Because I mean, I stay steady like writing lyrics and then trying to write riffs for them, and I got stuff demoed out that's just waiting. But we've just been practicing the stuff for shows, so we want to kind of chill and take a step back and really flesh out how we want to sound. And I want to get like 10 to 25% heavier.
I like that.
But yeah, so hopefully we'll be back out there playing shows around like late September, October.
Cool. Well, we're looking forward to it. You know, we're super high up on the music you guys have. So if you're super excited about what's coming out, then that just makes us even more excited.
Fuck yeah.
So
Hell yeah, dude. Love hearing that.
Awesome. Well, we'll obviously include it in the links on the episodes, but if you guys want to shout out some socials or anything like that, just if anyone's made it through this entire episode to catch us at the end, go for it.
You want to go first?
I don't know what most of our socials are named, so go to the link.
There you go. I'll hook you up.
Well, I am literally, my handle is TravHC everywhere: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. I'm trying to do more YouTube here lately. Intimidator handles is just Intimidator _ SCHC. And then Coverage 803 is just our venue that we booked down here.
Sick. We'll get that then.
Yeah.
I mean, Gunnar, you want to shout out like your tattooing or anything like that? If you know that stuff.
Let me shout out Charleston Hardcore real quick.
Yeah, do.
Check all these bands out because they all fucking rip. Quiet, I think it's Quiet SC on Spotify and all their socials. They fucking rip. Julia Legree. It's spelled Julia LEGARE. It's spelled like Lagar. Who else? This band called Hounds. They're kind of like post-hardcore. They're really sick. Lucille. Yvonne also sings in Lucille. They're like Kids Like Us, but a little more southern.
They sound like Down to me.
Down? I mean,
Down was hardcore.
In fact,
It's good. Go listen to it, is what I'm saying.
I'm totally blanking out. Oh yeah, there's this band GOW, GOW. They fucking rip. Who else? If you're in a Charleston hardcore band, I didn't say your name. I'm sorry.
Just
I'm bad at this.
Go out to shows. That's the best way, right?
Yeah, figure it out.
I think I was at Gal's first 2 shows, actually.
Hell yeah.
They're crazy, dude.
Well, dudes, we cannot tell you how much we appreciate it. You guys are awesome. We really appreciate your content, everything you're doing to grow a scene. We have watched the ebbs and flows, so anything that you can do to get that upswing and continue that upswing, it's always appreciated in the hardcore communities, the hardcore scenes. So appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you so much for having us, dude.
Thank you, yeah.
Yeah.
Feels good
Dude, of
to
course.
Well,
gain ground, you know.
absolutely.
This is anything I love. It's talking about hardcore. I love it.
There we go. Well, we'll get you guys back on when you guys have some new music or something like that, and we'll continue to push where we can for you guys. So,
Hell yeah.
Come out to Dallas. We'll hang.
Hell yeah.
Dude.
I have a friend that lives in
Hell
Dallas,
yeah.
so maybe we'll go visit and we can hang.
Let's do it.
say, all right, y'all. Well, peace.
See ya.